that intro to the program. So, topic for today, are you coping or crumbling, choosing the right strategies? Even the environment stresses us up. It just occurred to me that we see portraits of nice places like my background being sold on the streets, which sometimes is refreshing to see. But have you ever seen a portrait like a Bogloshi being sold or a traffic situation being sold? If not, because it's a nice story to stress you up. So even the environment, you coming to work, the truck people, my goodness, they will raise your BP to 1,000. And meeting the demands of family, children. Parenting has become another story on its own. We have children of a different generation. They can tell you anything without thinking twice. And that alone is another problem, competing demands at the workplace and all that. And all this impacts on our physical health as well as our mental health and how we deal with them is the issue. Today, we are going to look at all that. I have with me some good and seasoned professionals in practice and in academia who researched and worked on it, and they are going to help us digest the issues. At the end of the day, we are looking at being able to understand what stress and anxiety is about. We've been mentioning it and we really understand it. Is there a relationship between stress and anxiety? We would look at that. We would want to also understand the common triggers and how to identify a stressful situation or an anxious situation so that to be able to help one and what we need to do and how it also impacts on our physical health and mental health. We'll also look at that. For some of us, we adopt strategies and ways to cope with them. The professionals have told them that those are maladaptive strategies. It does not help, it worsens the situation. We will look at that also and talk about it. Then we'll finally discuss the coping strategies that we can use in such circumstances. And to help us to do all this, in a space of 1 hour, 30 minutes, already 18 minutes is gone, so 1 hour, 12 minutes. I have with me Dr. May. I'll start with the lady first. Dr. May Wolf Caesar. She's a consultant clinical psychologist. Almost over 12 years of experience in the field. She's the director and founder of Equilent Counseling Services. Additionally, she's also the CEO of Equiconsult, an organizational development that provides consulting services for organizations. Then again, the counseling psychologist for EcoBank and Tema Parent Association School. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. May Wolf Caesar. Let's hear your voice, May. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Dr. Makwa. Thank you.
Good. Nice to have you here. I also have, whether he likes it or not, I call him senior, but when you see his face, you would understand. Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur. He is a senior medical officer and a clinical psychologist, and also with some serious experience, over 10 years, 12 years experience. Currently, he's the acting director of the University of Professional Studies, the Medical Directorate. Here, he's the acting director, the PRO for Ghana Psychological Association. He does some part-time consultancy and lectureship as well. With regards to consultancy, he does it for Acacia Medical Center, Britannia Medical Center, and the Port Clinic. Lectureship, he also does that with the Family Health Medical University. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur Sr. Ike, that's your voice.
Yeah, hello. Hello, senior. Thanks for having me. I'm grateful.
Good. All right. Finally, my own man, you know him. He's been here quite some times, a few times, full of fire. Dr. Ejim Dodoy. He's a consultant psychiatrist. As to years of experience, decades, so he has it. Currently, he is a consultant psychiatrist at the Pro Teaching Hospital, the psychiatric unit, head of department for psychological medicine and mental health at the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ejim Dodoy. Dr. Dodoy, let's hear you. Where are you?
Thank you for having me.
How is the fire? How is the fire for today?
Oh, today there'll be no fireworks. Thank me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, you would have to mute yourself. It's been our tradition that the moment you join, whether the system meets you or not, you would have to mute yourself. Kindly do that for me. I missed going through the housing rules, so muting yourself the moment you join is one of that. And mental health is a sensitive matter. And so when you get the opportunity to make a comment or make a suggestion or ask a question, please be as sensitive as you can be. And if you have any comments, you can share them in the chat box as we go along. I'll find the time to read them. My facilitators are ready, so we'll get the ball rolling. Let me start with you, May. Stress. Again, crying is stress. Again, what is stress? Everybody's using stress. If I don't get gobe to eat in the morning, I'm stressed out. Everybody's using stress. What is stress?
I was very stressed this morning again. Especially when you know that, okay, I had everything in control, but then you don't. So it is actually a mental state that we experience from time to time when we feel that we are not able to cope or we are in a situation that is proving a bit challenging for us. So it's actually very natural to experience stress. It's an uncomfortable feeling like I don't have it under control and causes us to behave in all kinds of ways like you just explained. I hope this is concise enough.
It's concise enough. So now tie it with anxiety for me and give me the relationship between the two.
Okay. So we are stressed because we feel we cannot cope with the situation. Anxiety is our reaction to that mental state. So if we feel we can't cope, we're going to become anxious about how we're going to cope. So there's a very, very big relationship between anxiety and stress. One is the mental state about not handling a situation well, and the other is the response or the reaction to that belief, that perception that we cannot cope. And this is how we feel the palpitations and the nervousness and sometimes the sleeplessness. All these things are manifestations of the stress we are experiencing. So stress and anxiety basically go hand in hand.
Okay, Name, would you like to add something to it? Isaac, please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Yep. Would you like to add something to it?
Please, did you call me?
Yes, I did. Would
Okay,
you like to add
so,
something to? Would you like to add something to what Dr. May said? Yes, Dr.
Okay, so generally it's a response to some internal and external stresses. So usually the stressor can be an internal one or external stressor. So for example, your thinking patterns, how you feel about things, you know, all the internal deliberations about things can also serve as an internal stressor. Then external is all the things that has to do, you know, outside you that create some kind of stress, like family, finance, you know, traffic and stuff like that. But the good news about stress is that stress is a response to those stresses. So what it means is that the key thing about stress is how you respond to the stressor. So two people can go through the same kind of stresses. One person will feel overwhelmed than the other based on how they are responding to the stressor. And I think that is what I wanted to add. So anytime anybody feels stressed, it may not be as a direct product of the stressor itself, but it may be as a result of you know, how the person is responding to that stress, the stressor. So two people may have marital challenges. One may respond differently and feel less overwhelmed than another person. Two people may be writing the same exams. One may feel overwhelmed than the other because of how they are responding to it. So your response to a stressor, you know, determines significantly the impact of the stressor on you. So anytime you feel stressed, it may not be as a result of the stressor itself, direct impact of the stressor itself, but it may be as a result of how you are responding to the stressor. So that is something little I wanted to add to it.
Okay, that's a nice way of putting it, chopping it up. That's so that's Dr. Dodoi, what are the common triggers? I know they mentioned it in there somewhere, but would you make it clear for us, these common triggers to stress?
Yeah, I mean, just to like pick up where May and I left it. I hope you can hear me though.
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah. So, I mean, the stress, like I was saying, is your body's response, and the response can be emotional, psychological, or physiological, which is the body's, response to the stressor. Usually, anxiety is what we get us to the response to the stress. So the stress is a response to a stressor or a change in your internal or external environment. Like there is a tragedy, I've lost a loved one. So those are the stresses. So how you respond to it is what gives you stress. If you are not able to harness your resources to overcome them, then you say you are stressed. So when you have a stress, the response to the stress is what gives you anxiety. And anxiety disorder. So anxiety can sometimes be good for us. That is, don't fear failing an exam. Now, obviously, we will not learn for the exam, but the fear of learning for the exam. So when I begin to worry so much that I am not able to even kind of like prepare at all, then I'm getting an anxiety disorder. So yes, we all need to be anxious about things. If I'm not afraid of being knocked down by a vehicle, I can cross the street anyhow. But
Am I the only one missing out on Dr. Dodoi?
I think it's
careful
lying.
And so that is we want to usually, because you have a perceived stress under the touch of,
Am I the only one missing out here?
Sorry.
No, I think it's lying. His line is bad.
Oh, okay.
Did I go off?
Yes, you've been breaking up. Your line is quite bad, Dr. Dodoy. Okay, I think that he's going to struggle and come back. So, May, tell us, are there common signs that can easily tell that I'm stressed up? Are there common signs that,
yes,
that you can look at me and say, yeah, it's a little bit. Are there common signs?
Yes, there are a few common signs. For instance, you're sitting in front of me and you're trembling. Now, let's assume that you're coming in for an interview and you're trembling. I can tell that you are anxious. Or I'm about to introduce you to your prospective in-laws. I can tell you're sweating. So you're definitely anxious. So these are the things, the telltale signs. But then again, there are those that we don't see unless we are told. For instance, the individual is experiencing palpitations. So most of the time when people present to a mental health facility or even a hospital, general hospital, will say, I have been experiencing palpitations. So that is a common sign of anxiety, which of course may be a result or response to the stress as indicated earlier. We also have, for instance, the inability to relax. That could be a combination of stress to the point where you're unable to just sit still and you might be pacing up and down. So we see that with expectant fathers, pacing, not sure what's happening. So because we've talked about stress and anxiety together, if I am worried about something, I might find it difficult to just sit down and wait. So it will show in my behavior. So either I'm experiencing something that somebody can't see based on what I am thinking, but then if I act it out, it will be a sign for other people. So the palpitations, the trembling, the feeling panicky, like something is about to happen. Sometimes try to put your finger on it. Dr. Eugene Dodoy talked about anxiety disorder. Sometimes you have anxiety, you can't put a finger on. But because of how you react, your responses, people might look at it and tell you that you appear to be very anxious. In our common, we usually say you are worried. So then these are the signs of anxiety: the worry, the creased forehead, the trembling, the sweating, the palpitations.
Good. Okay. Dr. Aka, I'm pretty sure you would want to top it up. Is there anything you want to add at this point?
Yes, so the body's response is what results in the signs or symptoms that the person may experience and express. So anytime anybody is stressed or is anxious, it is not just the outward, response that we see that is the only thing happening to the person. But anytime we face a stressor or an anxiety-provoking situation, all the internal organs respond. There are all kinds of neurobiological changes in the body that is mediated by the sympathetic nervous system and also the hormonal, the hormonal system. All of them interact in a way to respond to whatever is happening. So because of all those neurobiological changes going on in the body, then there will be those kind of symptoms. So for example, there's a release of cortisol. Cortisol is responsible for many things, the person's sugar, immunity and all that. Then catecholamines, you have adrenaline, norepinephrine and stuff. They're all released when the person is in any stressful situation or anxiety-provoking situation. And all those things are responsible for certain activities in the body. And this response is the body's way to protect the body, and maintain a certain state of equilibrium in a way that protects the body from some kind of harm. So the body gets you ready to be able to either deal with the stressor or to move away from the stressor. And that's what we call the flight or fight response. So all those neurobiological changes are responsible for all the signs and symptoms that we may feel. So for example, the catecholamines and stuff may be responsible for your BP. So BP will start going up. your respiration will start going up and become erratic. So the person feels like they're choking. It's like breathing, the respiratory rate to go up, pulse will go up, because these chemicals are responsible for those things. Heart rate will go up and would be more pounding palpitations, like Dr. May said. The person may have these non-specific aches and pain here and there. They may have some headaches. Their vision may be a bit blurry. They may have some gastrointestinal symptoms. They may feel like vomiting or running unnecessarily and things like that. So whilst we are responding to a stressor, whilst we are facing a stressor, we need to know that internally there are also changes going on in there. And it's the body's way of responding to that stressor. And all those changes may later on lead to some health-related problems. But like I said earlier on, your perception about a stressor worsens this response or not. Your perception. So when you face a stressor, there are two perceptions. We appraise the stressor itself. Then we also appraise our ability to deal with the stressor. The primary and secondary kind of appraisal. So you meet a stressor, the first thing is to appraise the stressor. Is this harmful? Is it dangerous? Is it, would it destroy my life? That is the first appraisal. Then the second appraisal has to do with appraising your own, your own capacity to deal with the stressor. So, okay, the exam is coming. Hey, the exams is difficult. That is the primary appraisal. Okay, but I have what it takes to write the exams. That is the secondary appraisal. But if both appraisals are negative, everything goes up. So, exam is coming. Hey, it's difficult. Then the secondary appraisal, okay, I have not learned. Your stresses go up. The response goes up. But if you say, oh, these exams, I have not learned, but I can do it. It just crashes. Okay, someone walks away from your life in a relationship. Oh, he's gone. Why me? Every relationship that I enter into, it ends like that. I don't think I have what it takes to marry. That is a very negative way of appraise, and you feel overwhelmed. Another person who goes to the same relationship failure, the person will say, okay, if you have gone away, go away with your big head. Another person will come. That person is likely to feel less stressed than the other person. But we need to realize that though there is an outward kind of response to a stressor, internally there are major changes going on that may affect the person's health later on.
Okay, much clearer now. But all that you explained are the biological manifestation. What about attitudinal and behavioral? Because, for example, if I get too much stress, then I have short fuse.
So depending on what the stressor is, the behavioral and emotional things may be different. So the person may be socially withdrawn. The person may not be confident in any social space. The person may have sleep problems. They may have, poor perception about themselves. They may even have some feeding problems. The person may lose concentration. Attention may be difficult. They may feel worthless, hopeless. They may even have some suicidal thoughts, depending on whatever is happening to them. So all these things may be there. They may even lose libido and interest in pursuing their goals in life. And things like productivity goes down. There are two words, absenteeism and presenteeism. Absenteeism means you didn't show up at work. Presenteeism means that you were there, but you are not effective. And majority of those problems is under stress, anxiety, or depression, or stuff like that.
Okay, good. You've almost jumped into my next line of questioning, which I was going to ask how it impacts us, how stress and anxiety impacts on us and others. And I wanted us to look at it from the place of the workplace, family relationships, intimate relationship. Dr. Dada, are you back? He put a chat. I'm sure he's still struggling. Okay, so let's go on. When he joins here, you will see how it goes. So yes, I wanted us to discuss its impacts on us, stress and anxiety. So I wanted us to look at the workplace, family, and intimate relationship, and the sort of. You just started with the workplace, but we'll take a breather on that. Dr. Caesar, how does it impact on us when it comes to intimate relationships, stress and anxiety? How does it impact on the relationship in itself?
Okay. So when we look at stress and anxiety, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. So when we look at stress and anxiety, especially stress and the stresses, and we look at the areas that are affected, for me, I like to look at 4 areas: the body, the mind, your emotions, and then your behavior. So Dr. Human Arthur has talked about the headaches and the intestinal issues and stuff like that. So let's say the body, you're getting headaches, you're getting muscular tension, fatigue, breathlessness. In a family, let's say you're a wife or a husband, and you have frequent headaches. We know what frequent headaches can do in a relationship. It tends to, interfere with intimacy. So we have problems here. If you're parents and you have frequent headaches, of course, the children would be irritating you even further. If we go to the mind stresses effect on the mind. We have worrying, we have muddled thinking, we have inability to concentrate, nightmares, hasty decisions. How can these affect the family members? We're always going to be negative. So even when your family members try to work with you plan activities, you're negative, it's not going to happen. You're not able to concentrate on conversations. So that would impact the dynamics in the family, the relationship. You might find children spending more time with mom, which might also stress you even further. We can look at the emotions that stress affects. Depression is one of them. Anger. And studies have shown very recently, especially with the COVID, that because of the lockdown, because of the financial turmoil in the world, people were at home, job instability, and therefore they were venting their frustrations, their depression, their anger on family members. Studies have shown that aggression went up, domestic violence figures went up a lot because of the stress that people were under. Their emotions became affected in a way that's not the individual alone suffered, but family members. And then, of course, we said behavior is what we see. So then if you're seeing somebody smoking more or drinking more or has become accident prone, it's definitely going to affect the rest of the family. It's going to affect relationships in the family. If I'm drinking a lot more, I'm not likely to have a high sex drive and therefore there'll be marital conflict. Or I'm smoking more. People don't want you in the environment, which can cause you some more stress. So if we look at these 4 areas that are affected when somebody is under a lot of stress, you can see the impacts on their relationships in the family, interpersonally, and as Dr. Newman said, in the workplace, but what really the workplace for him.
Okay. So there's nothing good about anxiety and stress in a relationship. I don't see any good thing there. Okay, no. So no, I don't see anything good there. It's a whole lot of wahala. And for that matter, we need to know and take steps. Okay, we'll get to that point. So let me call you Isaac. So Isaac, you started almost with the workplace. Maybe you can do justice to it now.
Yeah, so when it comes to the workplace, there are 2 sources of stress. One, the workplace itself, the demands, responsibilities, even the environment, and the working conditions and stuff like that. So the workplace has its own stresses. Then also the individual coming to work, they have their own stresses. So you have one person who has a work-related stressor and also a personal or family-related stress. So the 2, sources of stress, the person has to deal with them. If the person is unable to deal with that stress, then it would affect the person's productivity. So they are going to make a lot of mistakes at work. There are people who come to see you in the consulting room and they've been fired or they've been reported or they've had some disciplinary issues because they're overwhelmed. you know, and they can't even cope with responsibilities. There's the forgetfulness. There was a woman who forgot he had really signed a check, you know, for a customer. After 4 days, then she was looking for the check, you know, and she couldn't even remember because she was under a lot of stress. Then again, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. If you're a driver, you may crash your company car. If you work with the machinery, you may likely to injure yourself. So work-related injuries may be as a result of stress and anxiety. And when you're anxious, you cannot be able to, for example, you're anxious, you have to do a presentation to a client, you have to engage your clients here and there. It will be very, very difficult. Then again, to your attitude towards other staff members. There was this health professional who was under serious stress at home, and she carried on to her patients. So the patients are now at the receiving end. So you go and the doctor is not smiling in the consulting room. You're a patient, you know you've not done him anything, and yet he's frowning. You know, so you go to work, and instead of empathizing with clients, instead of being available to address their needs, you are just not available because of all the things you have to deal with. You know, so it may even affect the pursuit of your own goals at work. You know, your position at work and everything can be affected. Your cooperation with other team members to be able to meet set targets may be very, very difficult for you to do. And that is where the term presenteeism comes in. Presenteeism means that you are there, but you are really not there. And you are very, very ineffective, you know, at work. And so, again, people come to work and they sleep. They come to sleep and they hide. You may think they are lazy, but they are not lazy, but they have a basic problem. And that may be stress or anxiety. And that can affect their performance. You know, and sometimes even attitude of bosses towards their subordinate can create unnecessary anxiety, even for workers. You know, there are people who dread going to work because they are going to sit in the same office with this particular person who is always on their neck. And so some of these things can affect the person's output at work. Yes.
Good. Thank you. Dr. Dadai, are you back on? Unmute yourself.
Great. I'm back.
Very good. Thank you. So now let's get this picture that stress and anxiety takes us to the consulting room when it becomes very problematic. What have been your experiences with regards to stress and anxiety in the consulting room? Dr. Dadai.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start off with this. We sometimes refer to stress and anxiety conditions as minor conditions. So in fact, with the DSM-5, they have stress, trauma and stress related conditions. That is where we have acute stress reaction, we have adjustment disorder. Common one is a broken heart. We have a post-traumatic stress disorder. Then you can suffer a dissociation, like a dissociative personality disorder, which in Ghana is referred to as like some minor beshelini, and the summer is kind of like manifesting. It's a common presentation in bereavement, which is also from a response to stress. And when it comes to the anxiety disorders, we have the phobias, we have generalized anxiety disorders, we have social anxiety, we have agoraphobia. And so there are conditions which, unfortunately, we teach them as if they are minor disorders. Currently, I have a patient on admission with obsessive compulsive disorder. And for over 12 years, he has not been able to work. I've seen a pastor with an anxiety disorder. There's a big pastor in Ghana, and he had not been able to preach or mount the pulpit for over a year because of the anxiety of what may happen. And I've seen, people who couldn't go to work, who have to stay home, one who couldn't go to school until she got somebody to be with her through her lectures and everything. And she was doing a PhD. So these conditions that we refer to as minor conditions, they can be so severe that it requires people being put in hospital. Like I said, currently I have somebody with OCD in the hospital, and she's been there for, this is about the 5th week that she's in hospital, and we're going to admit a bit longer because the symptoms have impaired her social function so much. So the important thing we need to understand about stress and these things, that these conditions, when we don't take care of them early, like May and Ike has mentioned, Dr. Newman, Newman, Emisa, I call him Ike all the time. So yeah, they have
feel free and call him Ike. Feel free. You are colleagues. Feel free.
Yeah. All right. So, like I can may have mentioned, I mean, if you don't take care of these signs and symptoms when they present, you more or less pay the higher or the bigger price in future. Which, I mean, and I'm very happy with what I mentioned about the presentation.
Unmute yourself, Dr. Dodoi. Dr. Dodoi, unmute yourself. Yeah.
Done. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a bigger challenge when we don't identify our stresses to prevent the stress, because you should be able to know this is what stresses me up. And this is, so you must be able to identify it first. You need to know how your body responds to the stress, and how your thoughts, your mind, perceive the stresses and the stress itself. If you don't manage them, you get an anxiety disorder, you can get a stress-related disorder. And that's the examples I've given. And when these disorders happen, they can be so severe that people have not worked for years. I mean, and this I'm talking about years. For those who have not worked for a couple of months, I've seen plenty of them. So the reality is that these, when they are not managed, can lead to clinically significant mental conditions that may require you being put in hospital. Obviously, if you are in hospital, you don't go to work, you lose income. In hospital, you pay for healthcare, whether you have insurance or not, it's going to be a cost directly to you. So it is so crucial and critical that these things are preventable. And yet, if we don't prevent them, we pay so much higher costs for them. There are a few of them which, I mean, I would say they are genetic. Like, people are born to have them. They only happen later in their life, but they were born to have them. So those anxiety disorders are there, but majority of them are stress related. If even you are born to have them, if you manage your stresses, it will come only in a milder form, or it will come later in life, not early in your teenage or in your 20s. It may come later in life, it may come in a milder form. If you're able to identify and manage your stresses, and that is so crucial and critical. And that is what we all need to appreciate, that when we don't manage them early enough, they become disorders, and the disorders are a bit more difficult to treat. We need a couple of things to manage them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In fact, what you've been saying tells us that playing with the word stress, we should not be playing with the word stress, because it can develop into something serious and get you hospitalized. So I'm stressed, and I think that's I always suspect, I always have a feeling that people using the word stress is more than stress. There could be, the problem could be more difficult than stress as we understand it now, considering what Dr. Dode is saying. And again, I'm happy that he's saying that we should not take it lightly, and we should take good care of ourselves and have early intervention. Yesterday, I was talking to a friend who told me that
about work and stress with medical professionals.
Okay. In fact, I have a question for you, Ike. So you relax. When I ask you that question, you add it to it. So you relax, hold your fire. Now that you want to, I'll stop myself and ask you my question. Then you can tie it in. Chronic stress and anxiety are there physical health implications when we experience chronic stress and anxiety? Does it affect us physically? Forget about the mental health. Physically, so that if there are, then means that we have a two-barrel problem here. So now expatiate on that for me, then you can add what you wanted to add.
Okay, so let me add what I wanted to add so I don't forget. You know, I have a big problem even with the medical system. You know, and anytime I get the opportunity to speak to medical professionals, I say this, that who designed our timetables in the hospital such that a doctor or a nurse has to work 24 hours, 48-hour shift or 72-hour shift? Who? Why? What is the motive behind it? And what does it seek to gain? Because a lot of doctors are dying, nurses are dying. And if you check suicide rate amongst medical professionals, it's very high. And a lot of addictions amongst health professionals. We don't have to do a 24-hour shift or a 48-hour cover or a 72-hour shift. And this question, I'm still waiting for someone to answer this question. Why do medical professionals, why do we have to work those shifts? Because we are not superhumans to be able to absorb all those stresses, you know, within that short time. And sometimes you can be stressed throughout the year. And even health professionals going for excuse duty, they won't grant you, you know, and they are dying. You know, even leave, they are dying. There are colleagues who are dying because of that, but they cannot talk. So if you are a health professional, you are a manager of a facility, please take care of your health.
I can mute yourself.
Yes. Yeah, so burnout is real. Whether you are a lawyer, or a doctor, or a teacher, the body does not pick and choose. You know, so because of the internal responses of the body, all the sympathetic and hormonal changes when it comes to stress, you know, when it is persistent for a longer period of time and your coping strategies fail. So first, the body is alarmed. Then it goes into some form of resistance when you employ all your coping strategies to be able to deal with the stressor. If the stressor is maintained for a longer period of time and is still there, you know, you go into burnout, exhaustion. And during exhaustion, it means that all your coping strategies have failed and all these biological changes have been going on for a long time. So BP is going to be worse, or you're going to develop BP. You know, you may have, you know, what do you call it, diabetes because of the influence of cortisol. You know, you may have bone-related problems. You may have fertility issues. You may have cancer-related problems because of that. You know, so all these physical changes that, you know, happen internally is actually, you know, setting you up for chronic diseases. So, for example, if you have a risk for hypertension, you may have it quite early. And even if you want to control the hypertension, it may be more difficult. There are some patients who could have just been well on just one BP tap or a BP drug, or even two, but now they are on 4, 5, 6. Because their stresses are not being managed well, and whatever chronic condition they may have may even be worsened because of that. So this is a big issue, especially amongst health professionals, and that I think that we have to look at this carefully. Doctors and nurses don't have to work a 24-hour, 48-hour shift. It doesn't have to be. And I wonder who started this. Thank you very much.
As to wondering who started this, I'm sure you are part of Ghana Psychological Association, and you are part of Medical and Dental Council Association. Maybe it's about time you start blowing the horn there and see what that can change. Because actually, Ghana, we are getting to that point, or we are at that point that we should be thinking about hourly shifts so that some people can be more productive than they used to be. It's about time. It's about time that we get to that point, so that stress and anxiety has huge detrimental consequences on our physical health as well as our mental health. And for that matter, we cannot be playing with it. I'm stressed out, and we are just walking about without seeking help. because the moment it becomes aggravated, we are ending up getting closer to all these medical conditions as well as the mental health conditions, and it's not pleasant to experience them. Okay, so May, there are some people who have adopted ways of dealing with their stress and anxiety, but you as a professional know that some of these strategies, which includes avoiding people, isolation and all that, is not helpful. It rather worsens their case. Okay, so now please kindly point out to us what these behaviors are, these maladaptive behaviors that people think that is the way to deal with their stress and anxiety, which in fact is not helpful, but rather worsens their case. So that if I know that I'm practicing this, I would have to think twice about it. Of course, finally we'll go with the right ones. But now make it clear to us what strategies that we think are okay, but in fact are not okay.
Okay, so let me just carry on from where Dr. Dodoy left off. He was talking about some disorders that some people are born with, and then we have those that develop as a person is growing, and because of situational factors, environmental factors, for instance, bullying and stuff like that. But for those who may have inherited some anxiety, the coping strategies are sometimes not the best. If we look at personality disorders, and especially those that present at this clinic, for instance, borderline personality disorder, it's one that is just full of anxiety, social anxiety. You see it coming. You also have, let's say, yes, in OCD, you have an avoidant personality disorder. These people have gone through a rough time because you can't even tell what is going on inside them. So the coping strategies that they adopt or think are helping may actually be more harmful. If we take borderline, for instance, you have somebody who on the outside appears to be okay, but then a lot of them engage in self-harm. That is their coping strategy for the anxiety they feel when they are out there, socially. So this self-harm, I don't think any of us would call that an adaptive coping strategy.
Not at all.
Again, because of the anxiety, if they're going to go out, they have to go out, not just borderline, but other I work with young people, so I'm very, very interested in their mental health, especially anxiety. We in our local parlance would say, I'm going to hire a lawyer to talk because you have inhibition, so you're going to drink something small. Young people would more likely engage in substance abuse, for instance, weed or some other hard drug, LSD. You have clients coming in and they've had ecstasy. These days we have the cookies, the edibles, where the weed is infused in them. They use
they call it sweet toffee.
Yes, sweet toffee, or the edibles, so the cookies, the chocolates, yes. And during the COVID, the Uber drivers were making money delivering these things to young people. So we have a number of young people who are coping this way, very maladaptively. Now, I also have in this age group people who are being bullied in school. They have to go to school every day. How do they handle the anxiety? So some would withdraw. They may get sick. We don't even use the conversion disorder, but they develop like somatoform issues. They have physical ill health. Doctors will come in and help me here, but they manifest with some physical problems, headaches and heartburn and stomach problems and all kinds of things because they're too anxious to go to school. So they're avoiding school or withdrawing from people. So I tend to work more with young people because they will be the ones who will be in the workplace later. So if they're not able to work on the early signs of anxiety and stress, it's going to be very bad for them once they enter the workforce. You see, so we have the drinking. Our adults, of course, we drink, and some would stay out late. This would impacts family relationships, intimate relationships, family relationships, even workplace. Because you go to work the next day with a hangover, you can't concentrate. You're going to get a query. That query will make you think that your colleagues don't like you, so they've reported on you. So then what happens? You start withdrawing from them. All this stemming from anxiety that may have spilled over or crossover from work or from the home. And then we engage in these things that we think alleviate or reduce the levels of anxiety. So if we identify young people who, starting from school, Dr. Eugene, what we're talking about, let's say, separation anxiety and all these things that children experience, right from kindergarten, you start to see some pattern developing. You know what I mean? They then have attachment issues. We don't realize that young children who have nannies coming and going are developing some kind of trust issues that will result in anxiety in later life. So that now they go into relationships, they are very distrustful of their partners, looking through their phones, checking all these things. This is what happens. And when we engage in behaviors we think we will alleviate, we cause more problems. You see, so the adaptive strategies need to be made more available to people who go through anxiety, because what they have at their disposal are the maladaptive ones, the drinking, the promiscuity, all those things that they engage in to reduce their anxiety or the uncomfortable feeling that Dr. Newman was talking about, when all those systems, parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system is functioning in overdrive. So it is very important to identify the stresses, identify the coping strategies, pick out the ones that are maladaptive, such as the drinking, smoking, all these things, and then replace them with more adaptive ones, which I'm sure we'll come to later.
Oh, thank you very much. Dr. Dodoi, I know some of these maladaptive behaviors ended up as drug addiction. And talking about drug addiction, I want to refer that to you to tell me briefly what your experiences have been, in addition to other maladaptive behaviors, how those have ended up in the consulting room, so that people will understand what the real life situations are. But just briefly, today we don't have the luxury of extending the time. We might even have to crash the time even less than we planned. So please bear with me. Dr. Dode, you have the floor now.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so addiction is real. Again, we still believe people are born to be addicts. But if you don't start it, you definitely will not get addicted. And people will start any substance of abuse because of a stressor. They feel they are inadequate to deal with it. I think Ike mentioned it, May mentioned it. So when they feel that lack of adequacy, they go and hire a lawyer to overcome it. The current trend of our young people are moving into a different form of addiction, which is betting. So betting is gambling addiction. And that is what our young people are going into. They have they trick the older folks that, they are doing Forex trading. I mean, these are young people in Ghana who claim they are doing Forex trading. So all of these things are all gambling, okay? So we have our young people now gambling to think that they can make money out of it, when essentially nobody has become a rich person through gambling. Whether even they win the jackpot, they go back and use all the money. And the betting companies never become insolvent. They never report bankruptcy. So whose money are they always getting? So obviously the people who bet, who with them. So we have such a huge number of young people getting into addiction, with gambling, drug abuse, and all that. the biggest challenge I find as a clinician is that this is condition of young people. So young people are not able to handle the stress of senior high school, the stress of becoming an adult, because we are moved from a teenager to be an adult where we are supposed to be more responsible, like in the university or in the tertiary institution. Nobody rings a bell for you to come to school or something like that, to come to class. Now you have to manage yourself and all that. So all that stresses are there, and young people get into maladaptive behaviors which get them bigger problem than trying to solve the initial stressor they even had. And we get these young people drop out of school because they need time off school to go into rehabilitation. Rehabilitation takes not less than 6 months. And when that happens, they may not be able to go back to school. And then they grow up with no skills. So if they grow up with no skills and there's no money, now it is called a vitamin M. So M for money. When people don't have money, okay, so they end up doing all kinds of things that get them into a more severe or a worse trouble than what they are running away from. Because we all need money, unfortunately. Everybody needs money. So when they use money to bet, when they use money to buy drugs, when they borrow money, so they end up either having to deal with savings, having to deal with borrowing, having to deal with managing money. Unfortunately, in our system, the economy has made it worse, because anybody who saved money before the end of 2022, who saved at the beginning of 2022, actually has lost more than half of the value of that money through our debt exchange program and our increase in inflation. So all these external factors will bring a lot of stress onto us. And when we don't manage them well, and when you don't adopt the good behavior, and we go by the maladaptive behaviors Nate just mentioned, then we are virtually buying another problem. So that is what stress and anxiety, when not managed, does to you. You actually use money to buy another problem that has to be managed. And that is the consequences of not managing your stress and your anxiety. And it's quite dire and serious, because when it affects younger people, we all learn some skills or go to school when we are young. When they become older, they virtually have no skills, they have no education, they are not employable. And then we get a vicious cycle of anxiety giving more stress, stress giving more anxiety, and vice versa. It goes on and on. So it's quite disheartening when we don't help, especially the young people, to manage stress. I'm not saying that older people don't get stressed. Older people do get stressed out, but the effects are worse for the younger ones than the older ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dodore. I could not agree with you more, particularly about this betting. A couple of weeks ago, I was at Obonu TV and I was telling them that we are going to have a new crisis on our hand with this betting. Unfortunately, it is legal. So they can physically walk into the place, do it. They can do it online. Even if they have to hide it from you as a parent, the fact that they have a smartphone, they can wake up at dawn and do it. But elsewhere, research has shown that it is contributing to mental health problems. It is contributing to mental health problems. So yes, I wouldn't agree with you more. So it's about time that parents need to look at that aspect too. And debt stress and all that. Well, we'll see how that goes, because adding to our already existing problems would make it worse. We have less time. Ike, let's talk about the coping strategies generally. The basic lifestyle, the basic things, the little things that we can do to cope with our stress and anxiety. Let's discuss that and run up, because I have a challenge here. So Let's go. Let's take it up.
Okay, so there are quite a number of them. Let me mention a few. One, develop a positive attitude towards everything. Like I said, your appraisal of an event, is what determines the impact of the stressor on your life. So they sack you from somewhere, go to another place. You lose a relationship, find another one. So a positive attitude towards life has a way of helping you deal with most of your stresses. Then again, positive friendships. It means that surround yourself with people who are not a source of stress. Usually we know the people who are a source of stress. You need to be able to distance yourself from people who become the source of your stress. Then again, to exercise. Exercise has a way of boosting your energy, refreshing you, and all that. Exercise is one of the activities that does almost every good thing in the body. Then rest. There are two forms of rest: sleep and relaxation. Sleep is when you are knocked out for 8 hours in the night, and relaxation is when you go sit by the pool, with a glass of juice, with a lemon, carved at the edge of the juice in your glasses, and thanking God. That is relaxation. And you need regular relaxation. So, add it to your plans to have that kind of relaxation. Then again,
but for a Congo man like me, relaxation, ice cream.
Our life is called life is good. Then also practice these virtues. Thankfulness. When you are thankful, you see the cup full, half full instead of half empty. Thankful people, they have a better perspective to life, and it helps them. Then contentment. Those who are not content with what they have, they're always looking for things, and that can be a source of stress. Then, again, to
leave some for the others. You're not the only one. Leave some for the others.
Okay, you said I should wrap up. So
no, leave some. Don't
so
say
forgiveness. So forgiveness also helps.
It's okay.
When
it's
you
okay.
forgive others.
Okay, I've heard that one.
Okay, thank you very much.
May pick it up.
Okay, so I just want to add this, that most of the time when we feel stressed because we have too much work, there is nothing wrong with breaking down our tasks. Break down your tasks. Delegate. Let somebody else help you. You can't carry it all. Don't be a konokokaya. Also, have a backup plan. Ask also for help from your supervisors, or you seek some professional help, but admit that you are stressed. It is not a crime, it's not a sin that you are having problems managing something. Otherwise, no coping strategy will help. So if you don't know how to ask someone for help, okay, go and seek for more information. But you first and foremost have to know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Where you are weak somewhere and it will cause you anxiety, ask someone to help you.
Okay, Dr. Adai, have they said, or you have something that you want to add?
Well, I mean, they've said it all. I just want to, make it a bit simplified, that we have what you call the 4 A's. So the 4 A's, 2 of them are for yourself, 2 of them are for the situation. So if you realize that so we have the 4 A's to accept, to adapt, to all. So if the situation is such that, say something like, anytime we are playing draft or dummy, we insult people. It is part of the game. If you cannot stand insults, call people to your home and make rules for that particular home dummy play. That means in my house, we don't insult. But if you want to go and play dummy in the community, they will insult you. If
I'm not sure, Dr. Adai, hold on.
Yes.
Starting with your 4 A's, I missed it here. I'm not sure about the others. If you could recap for us this 4 A's, because I didn't get it here.
Great.
I did not. Yes.
Great. All right. So what I mean, the 4 A's is in the person dependent and situation dependent. So the person dependent, the 2 A's there are, you either accept who you are, what you are, or you adapt to it. Then the situational, you either avoid the situation or you alter it. So I started with the last one, which is altering the situation. that if you want to play dummy, and they say that in dummy we insult, you can say that, yes, in the community dummy we insult, but I want my friends who respect me to come and play dummy with me in my house. At that point, when you come to the house, nobody insults anybody there. So you have altered the situation. If you, for instance, cannot manage drinking of alcohol and you have to watch football on Sunday or Saturday, you don't go to the pub and go and watch it. This is a situation that you can totally avoid. So the money you used to, watch the football, probably you should get, the DSTV in your house and watch it comfortably in your house. You can avoid such situations where there's going to be a stressor for you to drink alcohol and get another problem. If somebody was not born beautiful as a black person and they happen to be white, unfortunately, they have to accept being white, that they cannot be pretty or beautiful as a black person and have their hair shaped the way they want it. Their hairs are straight and it falls. So that's a situation the Caucasians will have to accept. They don't have a choice. That you accept who you are. If you want to be black, you cannot turn and be black. So you do it. There are other things that you adapt to. Yes, I wanted to become a lawyer. I wanted to be an architect. But hey, I didn't make it. Life is such that I couldn't get to that place. But architect, I'm a draftsman. Why not? I have to adapt to that new life. Our salaries, I would say, have been halved from last year, because the value of which we had, if it's about $100, now your salary were about $50. So your income has been halved. Things are expensive. So you should adapt to a new lifestyle. You don't have to still live the old way you used to, where you can afford everything. You have to adapt to it. So these are the 4 A's to avoid, to manage stress, or to make sure that you don't get stressed up, which can lead to an anxiety disorder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've done wonderfully well with these presentations. We have very little time. I would allow for only 2 questions. If the 2 questions are not coming, I would give you the final words to stress on the importance of seeking for help. Okay, Ampofo, ask your question. Unmute and ask your question.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Please raise your voice.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for the chance. I now followed the presentation and I think the information is solid. But I want to share my personal challenge. Last year, I remember somewhere along the line, I got so stressed. I switched jobs and I was so stressed. So I decided to seek for support. So I went Googling and all that to talk to a counselor. But first of all, I realized getting those kind of help in Ghana wasn't as easy as I thought, because I sought for almost 2 or 3 days before I got someone to talk to that's a professional. And then even with the professional, right from the beginning, I was told I have to pay about 250 Ghana cedis to book an appointment with a professional, and then there were going to be other costs. And I was kind of in Ghana. You need a professional help, and even booking, you have to pay about 250, and that they are going to be other kind of payments and all that. And I thought, really, because at the end of the day, if you pursue this, it's even going to give you another form of stress. So I'm asking people like that, when someone goes into a situation, where they have to talk to somebody to help them out in a situation in this country, are there some form of help, especially for those who might not be able to afford the kind of exorbitant prices that the professionals usually charge? So that is what I just want to ask.
Thank you very much, Ampofo, for your question. Just on the lighter side, you buy a certain drug, which you buy it at 500 cedis, and you have to take it for 2 days. Because it's your physical health, you are more comfortable to buy it without complaining. Something to do with the brain and it becomes a bit because you don't see that physical thing, but that is what kills. But anyway, I'll leave that one to the PRO of Ghana Psychological Association to let you understand that, Charlie, it's good to spend money for mental health. Ike, take it up and respond to that for me.
Well, I'm smiling because it depends on who you call. The price may be higher. So, but you know, it's a specialist service. You will not see an ONG specialist or see an ENT specialist or see any of those specialist areas, and they will charge even this amount. So it's a specialist service. And again, mental health professionals, they spend more time with the patient than all the other specialists. So by the time the patient even starts, finishes their story, it's about 1 hour, and you have to be there and listen. Sometimes 2 hours with the patient. So the cost is really not too high. Then again, unfortunately, you have to search for 3 days. Just go to any hospital and ask to see a mental health worker. There is likely someone there designated to be in charge of it. Or even if they don't have someone there, they know where to refer you. So don't go online and try and search. Don't go online and try and search. It may be difficult. Just walk into any hospital, and that is how easy it is. Even if they don't have someone there, they know where to refer you. But trust me, it takes a lot to deal with some psychological problem than even other specialist services. And sometimes the people do sliding scale. So if you really don't have money and you really need a service, you can talk to the professional involved. They are likely to reduce the price for you. But 250 in Ghana, it's small.
All right, thank you. Henry, unmute yourself and ask your question. Henry, are you there? Okay, Henry is not ready.
Hello.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Wonderful team. I think it's great and awesome. And we hope that maybe there could be a summary in the form of slides on those or something of sort for.
Is that your question, Henry?
As because of the intermittent system.
Okay, so Henry, in response to your question, I can tell you for a fact, all our virtual seminars are on YouTube.
Reduce
so
the
just,
amount of.
Henry, are you listening?
Yes, please.
So just go to YouTube and type in the title of today's seminar. Today's seminar should be ready by Monday, but when you type in, just type in MHA Webinar. We've done, this is about the 16th or 17th. When you type in, most of them will pop up and you are free to enjoy them. So this one should be ready by Monday. I already said we're going to have 2 questions. We have more hands up there, but
I'm not done with my question. That one was just an intro.
Was an intro?
Yes.
Okay, ask your question quickly,
my
please.
My actual question is can the Ghana Mental Health Association, your organization, can you propose to government, like what you were saying, it's not medical doctors going and then nurses and etc. Who are supposed to take care of maybe people from other professions who will come to the hospital. They themselves are stressed out. So you go to the hospital, and because the person is stressed out, he's not able to go into details. Sometimes they are human to sort of diagnose you, and you end up getting the condition worse. So if there can be a situation so that we can get good planners at all sectors of the economy, from the teaching, from the medical, and etc., so that people are not really stressed up. And then there should be avenue, because so that if somebody is stressed up, there's somebody he or she can speak to. Because there are some departments, when you have a difficulty, you cannot even talk to your boss, because your boss is the one creating the problem, shouting, and they will not even listen to your viewpoint. And you have to work, and because the person wants the results. And when you do the work, while he or she is interested in is the money that is coming out, and you may not even be part of the money that is coming from the work that you did. So the pressure is coming from all corners. And my fear is that a time will come, the mental issues will be too high. Honestly speaking, there are so many mental
Henry, please wrap up. Henry, please wrap up and make your question clear.
All right. So can you, as an association, help directing the government to set up various sections in our various departments to ensure that people are not overburdened with their work in order to reduce stress and anxiety? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Henry, for your question. I appreciate your concerns. But me or Mental Health Authority can't direct the government. That you should understand. We cannot direct. We can make suggestions and plead. And trust me, the PRO of Ghana Psychological Association, he understands, even is more concerned than we are. So trust me, we'll start that conversation and we'll see how we go with that. It's all about negotiation and talking. But we cannot direct the government to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mute yourself now. Let me see if I can read a few comments. A few comments came in. Adwa, you asked me which site on YouTube did you say we can get the previous presentations? On YouTube. Adwa, I don't know if there's the normal YouTube that we all know. The normal YouTube that you all know. My chat box is frozen and my challenge is catching up with me. Sorry about that. My facilitators, you've done wonderfully well. Now tell us the importance, quickly, to wrap up. We are all wrapping up, why we should seek help for that thing that we call stress before it worsens, all of you. So let me start with you, May.
Well, if we don't seek help, we are going to develop physical problems that will make life very, very difficult, because sleeplessness comes from being too stressed out and being very anxious. Marriages can fall apart. Your academic performance can go down. So if you don't do the needful, if you don't seek help for your stress and anxiety, you're going to suffer the physical consequences, which will also culminate in financial problems, interpersonal problems, and other social problems.
Thank you, May. Isaac.
Yes. Okay. So let me also add a bit that seek help, because you don't have to suffer unnecessarily. Whatever you're facing, there is a professional who has been trained to be able to help you. Then just one bit about the stress relief for couples. Let me mention it. Is that, sex in marriage deals with stress. Usually when couples are stressed, they avoid sex. But research will tell you that sex actually deals with stress because of all the chemicals that are released during sex.
Pardon me, repeat that again.
So sex deals with stress. Stress affects libido, but stress will deal with that problem. So the advice to couples is that, married couples, is that when you have stress, that is when you must even have sex, because the sex you are running away from will deal with the stress. So that is something I wanted to say to married couples. But if you are not married, no from it may create problems.
Okay,
but
Dr. Dodoi, okay.
Yes.
As for that one, I wonder if, because at the stressful time, you're either fighting or you are doing what's-in, and I wonder what, anyway. Dr. Dodoi, you are, I know, and me and you, we are worried about our adolescents and all the problems that they are coming, what you are seeing in the consulting room. So what do you advise in terms of help seeking as your final words?
I think that the adults must be conscious of this in their young people, that one of the periods of life with the most stress is the teenage years. So we should be very mindful that our adolescents into young adulthood are going through a lot of stress. They have identity crisis and all that, and we should be there to support them. And we should encourage health-seeking behavior. I mean, mental health seeking behavior. Seeking help doesn't mean you are mentally ill, because not being mentally ill does not mean you are mentally healthy. So we don't need to be ill before we seek help, but we want to be better people. So we can seek help to become better, to become, mentally healthier. So which is, I think, is important. And I need to stress, because we cannot overemphasize it enough, that sex is good to manage stress. So couples should understand it. So sex and exercises actually will reduce your stress level. Sex does it better than physical exercise because of the endorphins it will release and all that. All those manage our stressor, especially the chemicals that stress throw into our bodies to increase autonomic nervous function. That is a big word. I'm not going into it, but it's very important. We identify stress early. We realize that there is help out there to manage our stress. And when we seek the help, we can avoid stress-related disorders, we can avoid anxiety disorders. Thank you very much.
Maybe our next session we should be dealing with sex and stress in marriage, and we'll see what will happen here.
I can be your guest, don't worry.
Oh, okay. I have one guest already. All right. I think that we've come to a very beautiful end of this program. Clearly, stress in itself is not a light matter. We talk lightly about it, but this is not a light matter. If you leave it unattended, it can worsen. And when it worsens, you would have physical challenges as well as mental health challenges, and can get you hospitalized. Can affect your work, can affect your relationship with others, had financial implications. In effect, we should seek for help. Immediately we realize that it's getting out of hand. That is the first thing that we need to know. We should not downplay it at all. There is nothing to be shy about it, going to seek for help, because it's your health, either physically or mentally, it's your health. And if you are shy about it, it will rather worsen, and that one becomes even more public than going to seek for help much earlier. And I would suggest that you do that much earlier. The moment you realize that it's affecting your work, you go to work and you're not performing, you go pretending that you are not well and you're at home, when you know that there's something actually wrong with you. So let's take a look at that. Some coping strategies, which are very easy and simple to go by, were also professed to us to deal with. One was to have a positive perspective about life and ourselves. Keep positive relations and keep positive friends. We should exercise, and the exercise includes sex for married couples. Non-married couples exercise. Married couples should exercise and have more sex. We should rest more. Relaxation, and go to the beach, have ice cream with lemon inside. That one is what you said there. Then sit and read some storybooks. That is relaxation. Okay, we'll look at that one. We should also practice the virtue of thankfulness. We should be thankful for life and be thankful for the very little things that people do for us. It's good for the soul. We should be content. Contentment. We should be content with what comes our way. That is also good. We should learn to forgive. Not forgiving is keeping the burden to yourself. You hate the person and not forgiving, you are carrying the burden. The person is sitting somewhere, eating food and relaxing. No, go for no be that 1,000. That one, no, learn to forgive. And Dr. May also suggested that if the work is too much, learn to break down tasks into simple bits and deal with them one And as you succeed at each of them, it is satisfactory and urges you on to go on. Delegate. Let somebody do it. You can't be a one-man thousand. Learn to delegate. And again, have a backup plan. Have a backup plan in case of emergency. All my backup plans for this one means that I have to finish early. So I should be finishing in the next. My backup plan means that I should finish in the next 2-3 minutes. And there's the 4A plan. And for the person, you either accept the situation or adapt. Learn to deal with it. Adapt to meet the stressor, and that way it will be helpful for you. Or avoid it. Look at situations to avoid or alter the situation to your benefit. These are ways that we can deal with stress in our own little ways. These are simple lifestyle things that we can do. On that note, let me apologize. My chat box has frozen, I think, because my laptop is about 5% battery power. And so probably that must be it. But I want to thank you, May, Isaac, and Dr. Dodoy, so much for this wonderful presentation that we've done this afternoon. I think that I even have a much better understanding of stress and anxiety now and what the implications are and what I can pick up from the strategies that you provided. To our wonderful participants, thank you also for coming. Without you, this program would not be on. The numbers keep increasing. That is good. I know all of you receive the flyers one way or the other. Let people understand that we have unlimited space. When I share, people ask me about the space on it. Let them understand that we have unlimited space so they can join as many as, and feel free to share and encourage others to join. On this note, I would say thank you once again for coming. Tomorrow is 1st April. This time it's hard to play pranks on people with April Fool. It was fun when years ago, but this time people don't try because you never know how they would respond. Years ago it was fun. You were able to trick your dad and mom into some prank. It's nice, but this time no. So on that note, thank you so much for coming. God willing, next month we'll meet. Those who are asking about the slides and all that, this recording will be on YouTube, hopefully Monday. So just type in the title and it will pop up. All the other seminars that we've done would also pop up. You are free to enjoy them. As for the other topics, stress and sex, we will discuss that in the background and see if we have to bring it here. Other than that, there's a topic already in waiting. So probably we'll add it to the arsenal of issues to discuss later on. On that note, thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful weekend and have fun. We'll see each other same time next month. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.